The shock hits me like a cold wave as I step into the backyard. I had expected to find Alara alone, maybe lost in thought or enjoying the quiet. What I see instead twists my stomach. There she is, laughing and moving gracefully through yoga poses, with Kieran, her instructor. I freeze, my heart racing. The scene feels intimate, natural, but it cuts deep. Why does it hurt to see her so happy? Alara turns and catches my eye. For a moment, I think she might come to me, but instead, she smiles at Kieran, her eyes sparkling with joy. My breath catches. How did I become a stranger in my own home? I replay the moments leading up to this. The whispered phone calls that lingered too long, the way her face lit up when she mentioned Kieran's name. Each memory feels like a knife, carving out the space between us. "Hey, love, come join us," she calls, her voice bright and carefree. I force a smile, but inside, questions swirl. Is this what she wants now? I take a hesitant step toward them, but doubt seeps in. "Why didn't you tell me you were practicing together?" I ask, trying to keep my tone light. "Oh, it's just a class," she replies, brushing off my question with a wave of her hand. Kieran nods in agreement, but the laughter shared between them feels like a secret I'm not part of. I can't shake the feeling of being pushed aside. As I watch them, a painful thought creeps in. Is there more happening here than just yoga? I try to shake it off, but the unease only grows. The connection I see between them feels foreign, like a new language I cannot understand. I turn away, unable to watch any longer. In my mind, I'm shouting, "What happened to us?" The memories flood back. The nights spent dreaming of our future, the laughter that used to fill our home. We once shared everything, and now it feels like I'm standing on the outside looking in. I remember the first time Alara came home after yoga class, her face glowing with excitement. I thought it was just a hobby, something to help her unwind. But now, it feels like it's taking her away from me. I'm lost in thought when I hear her voice again. "You okay?" she asks, concern lining her features. I hide my turmoil behind a forced smile. "Yeah, just thinking," I reply. But the truth is, I'm terrified. What if this passion of hers leads her to a place I can't follow? What if Kieran becomes more than just an instructor? I feel the weight of the question pressing down on me. How did I let this happen? The warmth of our love has been replaced by a cold distance, and I can't seem to bridge the gap. I've tried to be supportive, to encourage her to pursue what makes her happy. But now I wonder if I've just set myself up for heartbreak. As I step back to the door, I glance over my shoulder, catching Alara's laughter again. It rings out like a bell, and for a moment, I feel a pang of longing. What happened to the nights we spent talking, dreaming, and sharing? I can't shake the feeling that I'm losing her, and the thought grips my heart like a vice. "Do you think we could do something together later?" I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. Her smile falters for a moment, and I see a flicker of hesitation in her eyes. "Maybe after class?" she replies, but her tone lacks enthusiasm. I nod, but inside, I'm screaming. What if this is the beginning of the end? As I walk back into the house, I can't help but wonder if I'm witnessing the unraveling of everything we built together. And in that moment, I realize the threads of our love are slipping away, and I don't know how to stop it. I stand in the doorway, watching Alara. The sun filters through the trees, casting gentle shadows on the grass. She is in a pose, stretching gracefully, her face serene. I can't help but remember when our relationship was filled with joy and laughter. There was a time when we shared dreams and plans, a time that now feels like a distant memory. "Look at me, Sam," Alara calls out, her voice bright with enthusiasm. She shifts into another pose, her body bending in a way that seems effortless. I smile weakly, but inside, I am struggling. I remember when you first started yoga, I say, trying to sound supportive. You were so excited. I was, she replies, her eyes sparkling. It felt freeing, like I could finally breathe. But as I stand there, I realize that her excitement has become a wall between us. The very thing that brought her joy now feels like it is pulling her away from me. I think back to that first class she attended. I remember her rushing home, her cheeks flushed, and her voice bubbling over with excitement. You should try it, Sam. It's amazing. At the time, I thought it was just a hobby, something to help her relax. I didn't see the emotional distance it would create between us. Now I watch her, and all I can feel is a growing emptiness. Do you ever think about us? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. Her laughter fades, and she turns to face me, surprise in her eyes. Of course I do. Why wouldn't I? Because you seem so focused on yoga and Kieran, I say, the words tumbling out. I feel like I'm losing you. Alara frowns, her brow furrowing. That's not true, Sam. I love yoga, but it doesn't mean I love you any less. You know that, right? I don't know anymore, I admit, frustration bubbling up. I see how happy you are when you're with him. I can't help but feel like I'm just here, a shadow in your life. I see her hesitate, a flicker of guilt crossing her face. Kieran is just my instructor. He helps me find myself, that's all. But it feels like more than that, I say, my heart pounding. I can see the way you light up when you talk about him. It's not just yoga anymore, is it? She looks down, her silence speaking louder than words. The distance between us grows, and I feel the weight of it pressing down on me. You found something in yoga that I can't give you, I continue, my voice breaking. And I'm stuck here, feeling like I don't belong. Alara steps closer, her eyes searching mine. I didn't mean for it to come between us. I thought you'd understand. It's my way of coping, of finding my own path. But I want to be part of that path, I say, desperation creeping into my tone. I want to be included in your journey, not just watch from the sidelines. I want that too, she replies softly, her voice trembling. But I need this for myself. Can't you see that? The realization hits me hard. While she is finding solace and self-discovery on the mat, I'm left grappling with insecurities and fears of losing her. I just wish I could be that for you, I say, tears stinging my eyes. I want to support you, but I also want you to see me. I want us back. Alara reaches for my hand, squeezing it gently. You're not losing me, I promise. I just need time to figure things out. Time, I echo, the word feeling heavy. How much time do we have left before you decide to leave? Her eyes widen, and I can see the hurt in her expression. I don't want to leave, Sam. I love you, but I can't ignore this part of me now. The emotional distance feels like a chasm between us. My heart aches as I realize we are at a crossroads, a place where love and fear collide. I want to fight for her, but I'm scared of what that fight might mean. I just want you to be happy, I finally say, my voice barely above a whisper. And I want you to be happy too, she replies, her eyes filled with unshed tears. But as I look into her eyes, I wonder if happiness for her means letting go of me. And that thought terrifies me. That restless night was a turning point for me. I lay in bed, tossing and turning, unable to shake the feeling of dread that had settled deep in my stomach. My heart raced, and my hands trembled as I thought about Alara and Kieran. I could not hold back any longer. I needed to confront her, to voice my fears and doubts. I took a deep breath and stood up, the cool air hitting my skin like a shock. I walked to the living room, where the dim light from the street lamp outside barely illuminated the space. Alara was there, sitting cross-legged on the floor, her yoga mat rolled out beside her. She looked peaceful, but I knew that beneath that calm exterior, there was a storm brewing. "Alara," I said, my voice shaky. "Can we talk?" She looked up, surprise flashing across her face. "Of course. What's wrong?" I felt my heart pound louder in my chest. "I need to talk about Kieran," I managed to say, my throat feeling tight. The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken emotions. Her expression shifted. For a moment, I thought I saw guilt flicker in her eyes. "What do you mean?" she asked, though I could tell she already knew. "I see how happy you are when you talk about him, how you light up during your yoga classes. It feels like you're slipping away from me," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. Her gaze dropped to the floor, and I noticed her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her yoga pants. "It's not like that," she said softly, but I could hear the hesitation in her voice. "Then what is it like?" I pressed, desperate for answers. I can't keep pretending that everything is okay when I feel so lost. With a sigh, she finally looked up at me. "I have feelings for Kieran," she confessed, her voice trembling. My heart sank, and I felt a rush of pain wash over me. "But it's complicated. I didn't want to hurt you." "Complicated?" I echoed, feeling the tears prick at my eyes. "You're telling me you have feelings for another man, and it's complicated? Alara, I thought we were in this together." "I know," she said, her voice breaking. "But through yoga, I'm finding parts of myself I didn't know were missing. Kieran he understands that part of me." "Understand?" I countered, frustration bubbling inside me. "What about us? What about the love we built together? Am I just supposed to stand by and watch this happen?" Her silence filled the room, and I felt the weight of our shared history pressing down on us. I wanted to scream, to shake her and make her see the pain she was causing, but instead, I felt a mixture of heartbreak and empathy. I understood her struggle, the desire for self-discovery, yet it felt like I was being pushed aside. "Alara, please," I said, my voice cracking. "Can't we find a way to fix this? I love you. I don't want to lose you." "I love you too," she admitted, tears streaming down her cheeks. "But I'm scared. Scared of losing myself in our relationship, and scared of what this means for us." Her words struck me like a dagger. I could see the conflict tearing her apart, and I wanted to comfort her, yet the thought of losing her to Kieran felt unbearable. "So what does that mean for us?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "I don't know," she replied, her voice filled with anguish. "I need time to figure this out." Time. The word echoed in my mind, a cruel reminder of the uncertainty that lay ahead. "What if you take that time and realize you want him?" I asked, my heart aching at the thought. "I can't promise anything," she said, her eyes pleading. "But I need to be honest with myself. And with you." The air between us was thick with tension, and I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, teetering between hope and despair. I wanted to fight for our love, but the fear of losing her loomed larger than ever. "I don't want to be a stranger in my own home," I whispered, the tears I had been holding back finally spilling over. "I don't want to watch you slip away." "I don't want that either," she said, reaching out for my hand. "But I can't ignore what I'm feeling. I hope you can understand." As I held her hand, I felt the warmth of our connection, yet the distance between us felt insurmountable. We were both lost in this emotional turmoil, caught between love and the fear of what lay ahead. I knew that whatever came next would change everything. The air around me felt heavy, like a thick fog that refused to lift. After our talk, I stumbled into the living room, feeling lost and alone. Alara's words echoed in my mind, and I could not shake off the image of her smiling with Kieran. I wrapped my arms around myself, trying to find comfort in my own embrace, but it did little to ease the ache in my heart. I glanced at the clock. The ticking seemed louder than usual, mocking me with each passing second. I had wanted to understand her need for independence, but it felt like a knife twisting in my gut. Why can't she see how much I need her? I whispered to myself, hoping for an answer that did not come. In search of some clarity, I picked up my phone and texted my friend Mark. "Can we talk? I'm feeling lost." The reply came quickly. "Sure. Want to meet at the cafe?" It was a small relief to know I wouldn't be alone in my turmoil, even if I doubted if anyone could truly understand. When I arrived at the cafe, I found Mark sitting at our usual table, a steaming cup of coffee in front of him. He looked up and immediately noticed my troubled expression. "What's going on, man?" he asked, concern etched on his face. I took a deep breath, the weight of my emotions spilling out. "It's Alara. She's changed. I feel like I don't even know her anymore." My voice cracked, and I hated how vulnerable I sounded. Mark leaned in, his brow furrowing. "What do you mean? Is it just the yoga thing?" "It's more than that," I said, running my fingers through my hair in frustration. "It feels like she's found something with Kieran that I can't give her. I see her laughing, and it's like I'm watching from the outside. I'm scared, Mark. What if she chooses him over me?" His expression softened. "You need to talk to her about this. Let her know how you feel. Hiding it won't help." I nodded, but my heart sank. "What if she doesn't want to listen? What if I push her away even more?" "Then at least you'll know where you stand," he replied. His words lingered in the air, a bittersweet reminder of the truth I was trying to avoid. As I left the cafe, the weight of my situation pressed heavier on my shoulders. I felt like a ghost in my own life, haunting the spaces where we used to share laughter and dreams. I needed to confront this, but the thought of facing Alara again sent shivers down my spine. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the darkness wrapping around me like a shroud. I replayed our conversation, the look in her eyes when she talked about Kieran. She had said, "I need to find who I am, and yoga helps me do that." I could almost hear the hesitation in her voice, the struggle between her past and this new path she was exploring. Suddenly, I got up, driven by a surge of determination. I grabbed my phone and texted Alara. "Can we talk when you're free? I need to share something important." Her response came quickly. "Of course, I'll be home around 7. As I waited, the minutes dragged on, each tick of the clock a reminder of the uncertainty that filled the air. When she finally walked through the door, my heart raced. She looked beautiful, but the joy I once felt at seeing her was now tangled with fear. "Hey," she said softly, her eyes searching mine. "Hey," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "Is everything okay?" she asked, concern flickering across her face. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "No, Alara, it's not. I've been feeling like I'm losing you, and I can't just sit back and let that happen." Her expression shifted, a mix of surprise and understanding. "I didn't mean to push you away. I need to figure things out." "I get that, but I need you too," I said, my voice shaking. "I just want you to know that you don't have to choose between us. I want to support you, but I'm scared of losing you." Tears glistened in her eyes, and I could see the conflict within her. "I don't want to hurt you," she said, her voice trembling. "I know," I whispered, feeling the weight of my words. "But we need to talk about this. We can't keep ignoring what's happening." As we stood there, I realized that the truth was unraveling before us, and I could only hope we could find a way to weave our hearts back together. The days passed like a blur, each moment filled with dread and uncertainty, but nothing compared to the moment I overheard Alara talking to Kieran about a yoga retreat. My heart sank as I listened from the hallway, frozen in place. The words Kieran and retreat echoed in my mind, twisting like a knife. "I can't wait for the retreat," Alara said, her voice light and filled with excitement. "It will be so amazing to deepen my practice and explore new techniques with you." I felt a surge of emotions: anger, sadness, betrayal, all crashing over me like a wave. I held my breath, unwilling to move, fearing that if I stepped into the open, I would shatter the delicate moment of her joy. But inside, I was crumbling. As I finally found the courage to step into the living room, Alara's laughter faded, and the atmosphere shifted. She looked at me, surprise flashing across her face. "Oh, hey, I didn't see you there." "Yeah," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I just overheard you talking about the retreat." Her smile faltered, and I could see the tension build between us. I didn't mean to keep anything from you. It's just something I feel I need to do." I took a deep breath, trying to gather my thoughts. "Do you really need to do it with Kieran? Don't you think it's a bit much?" Alara's eyes widened, and I could see the conflict within her. "It's not just about Kieran. It's about my practice, my growth. You know how important yoga has become to me." "But what about us?" I asked, my voice rising slightly. "What about the life we built together? I feel like I'm losing you." She looked down, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her yoga pants. "I don't want to hurt you, but I can't ignore how I feel either." The room felt heavy with unspoken words. "You have feelings for him, don't you?" I didn't want to ask, but I needed to know. "I'm not sure." She hesitated, her eyes filled with tears. "He's been a big part of my journey lately, and I can't deny that there's a connection." My heart shattered at her admission. "So, what does that mean for us? Am I just supposed to stand by and watch you explore this new life without me?" Alara took a step closer, her voice softening. "I don't want you to feel that way. I care about you so much, but I also need to figure out what I truly want." I felt the weight of her words settle heavily on my chest. "Is it selfish of me to want you to stay? To fight for what we had?" "It's not selfish to want love," she replied, her gaze steady. "But love should not feel like a cage. I don't want to hold you back either." The truth struck me hard. Maybe I was clinging to a past that was slipping away. "So, what do we do now?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "I think we need to talk openly about our feelings," Alara said, her voice trembling. "It's hard, but we need to face it." As I prepared to lay my heart out, I realized that this was a defining moment. I had to tell her everything, even if it meant facing the pain of losing her. "I love you, Alara, but I can't pretend that this doesn't hurt. I want you to be happy, but I also want you to choose me." Her tears fell freely now, and it broke my heart to see her like that. "I love you too, but I'm scared of losing myself in this relationship. I don't know if I can give you the answer you want." I nodded, feeling the weight of our situation. "Then let's talk. Let's lay everything on the table. I need to know if I should fight for us, or if I need to let you go." Silence enveloped us as we stood there, two souls intertwined yet drifting apart. I was terrified of what lay ahead, but I knew that this conversation was necessary. Whatever happened next, I had to be honest about my feelings, and so did she. In that moment, I realized that love isn't always about holding on. Sometimes, it's about understanding when to let go. I stood at the edge of the living room, my heart pounding, as I waited for Alara to return from her yoga class. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow through the window, but inside, I felt cold and anxious. This was it. Our final talk. I knew we had to face the truth. but fear gripped me like a vice. When she walked in, her face lit up with that familiar smile, but it felt different now. I could see the joy in her eyes, but also a flicker of uncertainty. "Hey," she said softly, almost tentatively. "Hey," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. I took a deep breath, trying to gather my thoughts. "Can we talk? I mean, really talk?" Her smile faded, and she nodded slowly. "Of course. I've been thinking about this too." We sat down on the couch, the space between us feeling larger than ever. I wanted to reach out and hold her, but I knew that would only complicate things. "Alara," I began, "I don't want to lose you, but I feel like you've changed so much. You're so into yoga now, and I don't know where I fit in anymore." She looked down, her fingers tracing the fabric of her yoga pants. "I know. It's been hard for me too. Yoga has helped me find parts of myself that I didn't know were missing. But I never wanted it to come between us." "Then why does it feel like it has?" I asked, my voice trembling. "I see you with Kieran, and it hurts. I can't help but think maybe he understands you better than I do." Her eyes filled with tears, and she took a shaky breath. "It's not that simple. Kieran is my instructor, and yes, we share a bond through yoga, but it doesn't mean I love you any less. I'm just trying to figure out who I am." I felt a lump in my throat. "But what about us, Alara? What about the life we built together? I miss you. I miss us." "I miss us too," she said, wiping a tear from her cheek. "But I also feel like I'm at a crossroads. I want to support you and our relationship, but I can't ignore this part of me that's growing. It's like I'm standing on a cliff, and I don't know which way to jump." I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her words. What if that jump means leaving me behind? "Then I have to be honest about it," she replied, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I can't pretend everything is okay when it's not. I care about you, but I also need to explore this side of myself. You deserve someone who can fully be there for you, and right now, I'm not that person." A silence fell between us, heavy and suffocating. I wanted to scream, to beg her to choose me, but I also knew that wouldn't be fair. "So what do we do now?" I asked, my voice breaking. She looked deep into my eyes, searching for answers. "I think we need to take a step back. Maybe some time apart would help us figure things out. I don't want to hurt you, but I can't ignore my feelings either." "Time apart?" I repeated, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. "Is that what you really want?" "It's not what I want, but it might be what we need," she said softly, her eyes glistening with tears. "I don't want to lead you on, and I don't want to hurt you. You deserve more than that." I nodded, feeling a wave of sadness wash over me. "I just never thought it would come to this. I love you, Alara. I always will." "I love you too," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But sometimes love means letting go, even when it hurts." As we sat there, tears streaming down our faces, I felt a bittersweet mixture of love and loss. I realized that sometimes, love is about wanting the best for someone, even if it means accepting the end of what we once had. I didn't know what the future held for us, but I knew that whatever happened, I would cherish the moments we shared. With trembling hands, I reached for hers, squeezing it gently. "If this is goodbye, I want you to know that I only want you to be happy," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "No matter where that takes you." "I promise to always hold you in my heart," Alara replied. And as we sat there, holding hands, I knew we were both at a crossroads, ready to embrace whatever came next. Share this story if you believe that love can endure even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about a time when a difficult decision shaped your life, and subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt stories like this one.